I think, Brennan, we have to at least talk about this. You guys, if you follow the news, if you're alive, if you've been following this Twitter thing the way we have, you know what's going on with our friend Chris. I'm not, in these situations, people in Hollywood tell you what to say. And I said to Brennan, what we can do is tell the truth. And I'm not going to sit here. I'm a man, and I define myself on how I respond to these situations in real time when the pressure's really on. And so this is what I'll say. I always knew Chris as a ladies' man. I have never, and I'm going to say this, I have never seen or heard of him doing anything illegal, ever. This is as shocking to me as I'm watching this happen. I don't know what to think, and I don't know what to say. I don't. But I'm going to say it again. I have personally never heard or seen him do anything illegal. That's all I can say. And right now I have to believe that because he's still a friend. And it may be unpopular to say that, but I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do. And I'm not going to be some, I just think it's an impossible situation. And I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss. And I'm praying that what I'm hearing isn't true. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
I can't talk.
It's just, it's like, it's a weird thing because I said to Brendan, I said, it's like, it's like watching someone die or something.
The Los Angeles comedy scene is in disarray. Is it a conspiracy? Is this a long time coming? Who the fuck knows? We'll try to break it down. Very shady shit. And we will also get into the comedic stylings of a young up-and-comer later in the episode. But first, I do want to talk about this controversy surrounding Bryan Callen. So you may remember a few weeks ago when we talked about Chris D'Elia, and I kind of alluded to the idea that there's sort of an attack on Joe Rogan's crew, and maybe that's why some of this stuff is coming out. Now the LA Times puts out an article about Bryan Callen. Let me be very clear here, because I know I have a certain reputation, but I do want to make it clear. So I read the LA Times story. A couple of them, I don't know why they're in there. If it's an inappropriate comment, I don't know why that's involved. I don't know why him cheating on his wife is involved. That's just tawdry details for the gossip columns. I don't give a shit about any of that. But the claim of sexual assault seems to me to be legitimate. Catherine Tigerman, I believe her last. I think her first name is Catherine. I hope I'm not getting that wrong, but Tigerman is her last name. Her allegations, if you're not aware of them, are essentially that her and Bryan Callen were friends. They had a platonic relationship. They got along very well, laughed a lot with each other. And then Bryan Callen one day got very sexually aggressive with her. She was saying, no, not into it. And Bryan Callen persisted and said some things like, we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend after this, some weird shit. And the primary reason I really believe that story is, A, she seemingly has nothing to gain from this. She's not in show business. She's not. There's a monetary thing coinciding with this. So she's got really no reason for any of this. But B, I always believe stories, and maybe we'll get to a point where someday people catch on to this, and maybe we're already at that point. Who knows? But I do believe stories when people say. That's why I believe that the Tara Reid story. You have little weird things that it's like, well, no one would make this up. You wouldn't think to make up the things that she claims Bryan Callen said. Like, we'll laugh about this later, or we'll be boyfriend, girlfriend after this. Little weird shit like that she includes that I personally just feel like if you're lying, you don't make up. Now, I wasn't there. I have no fucking idea. I do think in all these cases, if there's a crime, if there's sexual assault involved, I don't think you should just go to the press. I think you should go to the police and pursue legal action. But that's just me. Maybe she's not comfortable doing that. I have no idea. It's interesting to see Bryan Callen's response, where he says, I vehemently deny this. He's going to talk about it tonight on Fighter and the Kid. So there may be an addendum to this episode. May come back and plug in some thoughts. I suspect, I'm recording it today because I suspect the fighter and the kid will be a dud tonight. We'll come back and address if I'm wrong about that before this goes out. But when you look at how Bryan Callen responded to Chris D'Elia, the Chris D'Elia allegations were nothing like this. They were, some of the DMs were doctored. That's why Chris D'Elia put out those emails. Some of them certainly very creepy. Like, oh, you're 17? All right, wait a year. Hey, happy birthday. You want to hang out? Certainly a creep, Chris D'Elia. None of the allegations are like this. And I remember when we played the audio of Callen and Schaub crying on their podcast, that seems odd. Maybe that's how I'd react if it was a friend. I don't know. Maybe I would do the same thing, not know how to react, to cry. But there were kind of rumors even then that maybe Bryan Callen, Brendan Schaub, maybe they have some allegations against them. They're nervous about people coming after them. So what does Bryan Callen do? Deletes Chris D'Elia on all social media. Says, hey, I never fucking saw the guy on the road. I don't know. I got nothing to do with this. Weird instinct. And my opinion is just, if the guy's really a friend of yours and you're not just saving your ass with Hollywood, you'd say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that to be this guy's behavior. I know him as a brother, as a friend. I don't know this side of him at all. I'd like to see some fucking evidence before I wipe him clean. So apparently it's turning on Bryan Callen now, and he's saying, well, hey, this is crazy. These are just lies, which maybe they are, but maybe that's why you defend someone else and you wait for a little evidence to come out. Seems to be a lot more evidence about Bryan Callen than there is about Chris D'Elia, I would say. But then you get into, there's a lot to this story, because then Amy Schumer comes out and says, she shits on Bryan Callen and puts out this phone number that leads nowhere. It leads to some voicemail or something, I think. It's not Amy Schumer's personal phone number. So I don't know what the goal of this was, but she puts out some phone numbers like, if you want to talk about this, we can talk. But again, Whitney Cummings, Amy Schumer, Callen did it to D'Elia. The instinct to immediately come out and speak about these comedians, very strange. That's interesting. Which led me to shout out to a great Minifan account, Governed by Fear, who right before we recorded this sent me a link that Sam Tripoli just put out today. Sam Tripoli, an LA comedian, knows a lot of these guys, big conspiracy theorist. And I think Sam Tripoli's, misguided on some stuff, wrong on some stuff, or at least I'll say I disagree with him on some stuff. And he makes it very easy to mock and criticize him, makes it very easy to call him dumb, just kind of by the way he talks and everything. But there's a lot of truth to some of the stuff that Sam Tripoli says. Did I say D'Elia? I'm sorry. Sam Tripoli. So on his podcast, Tinfoil Hat, I think this video may have just been put out on his YouTube. Sam Tripoli asks some interesting questions. What the fuck are these ladies on Jeff Ross? Well, the Jeff Ross accusations have a lot more validity and facts and evidence to them than the Chris D'Elia allegations. I would say even more facts and evidence. If you watch the girl making the allegations against Jeff Ross, I would say more facts and evidence than even the Bryan Callen LA Times article. This girl made a very interesting video where she has photos and timestamps of where they were together and everything. She was 15 at the time. Jeff Ross, you don't hear anything about these allegations. Why? Maybe because he put Amy Schumer and Whitney Cummings on those roasts. He's, the darling of Comedy Central and Netflix, and, people love him. Funny guy, the roast master, Jeff Ross. So you don't hear that shit about him. Now you could say, hey, Mike, maybe the Jeff Ross allegations aren't true. I'll grant you that. Maybe they're not. Why isn't Chris D'Elia given the same benefit of the doubt? Bryan Callen, all these people. Do I think it's a Joe Rogan conspiracy? Possibly. I think maybe they looked at Joe Rogan, tried to go after him. You see that when it's trending on Twitter. Joe Rogan's transphobic. He's misogynist. He's sexist. That didn't really stick. No, all right, we're not going to cancel Joe Rogan. will go after his guys. Joey Diaz is a misogynist piece of shit, makes jokes. And then you get into, oh boy, some serious allegations. Well, we called Joe Rogan misogynist. Look what his friends are doing. Crystalia, Bryan Callen.
A lot of you guys think I defend these guys because they're my friends. Not true at all. I love Jeffrey Ross. Okay? I love Jeffrey Ross. Jeffrey Ross has been very good to me. This is not easy to do. But there's enough evidence out there, literal evidence, that there should be more of a discussion, but there's not. Why isn't Amy Schumer saying anything about that? Why isn't Whitney Cummings saying anything about that? Why aren't any of these blue checkmark people like Chelsea Peretti saying anything about that? Why aren't any of them saying anything about Chelsea Handler, Wanda Sykes, Kathy Griffin, and I hate to say it, Michelle Wolf. You think I enjoy saying Michelle Wolf's name? I think she's a wonderful comic. And it breaks my heart when I see her on the flight logs. Okay?
It's interesting. Sam Tripoli also gets into, this is where he loses me, where he's a full-on conspiracy guy. He loses me when he says, Michelle Wolf is on the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein. This Bryan Callen thing drops the week that stuff about Clinton comes out with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. That's where he loses me a little bit, because if you got a name as big as Bill Clinton, I don't think the chum you're throwing in the water is Bryan Callen. I don't know that that's really going to distract anyone. Maybe it will when Bryan Callen comments on it. I don't know, but that's taking a big risk. That doesn't seem. But I'll tell you, Sam Tripoli, easy to criticize. You can call him fucking nuts. Say he's crazy. You can blacklist him from comedy. Sam Tripoli has no reason to defend these guys. He's got much more of a reason to throw them under the bus and distance himself from them. But he defends him a little bit. Maybe he starts losing gigs. Maybe he gets blacklisted. The reason I defend guys like Sam Tripoli, or even the craziest conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones, is because if you don't defend them, then it's going to be wrong to even have that thought. To even have the thought, hey, what if Bryan Callen didn't do it? Hey, where's the evidence of illegal activity for Crystalia? Crystalia's career's gone. Do we know for a fact he did something? And if he did, good riddance. If Bryan Callen's a fucking rapist, lock him in a cage. I have zero problem with that. The problem is you have to prove that in a court of law to do it. So it's easier to ruin someone's career. I will say the good that came out of this is that Crystalia, Brendan Schaub, and Callen had some sketch show on Netflix. That deal is gone. Would have been horrendous, I suspect. I like Bryan Callen. The other two do nothing for me, as you've heard on this show. So the world has been saved from that. So thank you, Netflix, for that. But I don't know. What happened with Crystalia? We all called him a pedophile for a week, and then you stopped talking about him. Bryan Callen, everyone's going to call him a rapist for a few days, and it's going to go away. And even, like I said, I believe that story. But if you believe it's sexual assault, why don't you go after him? Why isn't this a bigger deal if that's the case? That's what makes me question all this stuff. And it's not even, like I said, I believe the allegations against Bryan Callen. Crystalia seems a little more involved, let's say. But I believe Tigerman's allegations against Bryan Callen. I don't know why there's in the LA Times article, if you read it, they include that he had an affair for 3 years, a consensual affair for 3 years, cheated on his wife. I never know why that's included. Because, like, who gives a shit? Oh, a guy with some notoriety, a famous guy, an actor, cheated on his wife? We all clutch our pearls. What? What? Unbelievable. It's like I always said with Clancy when he got in his shit. Yeah, his family should be fucking outraged. His wife, kids, in-laws, even his own mother should all be fucking outraged. Why should I be outraged if I read the guy's blogs or listen to his podcast? That part I don't know why those are ever included. But if there's legitimate sexual assault involved, or even, making people that were under him feel uncomfortable, fuck Bryan Callen. Good riddance. But I do think there should be, I don't know, 8 minutes where we say, okay, what's the evidence? And that's really weird. And it's really weird to me that we do it with guys like Jeff Ross. Those videos are out there. Jeff Ross was in that stupid Tournament of Laughs. Every tweet in reply to that was, hey, how about you look at this video on that this girl posted on Facebook? No one gives a fuck about that. Jeff Ross isn't losing TV deals or anything. Very odd the things we choose to ignore. Yet Joe Rogan has that $100 million tag attached to him. Suddenly all the guys moving out to Texas are running into problems. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see Bryan Callen's response. He's doing a live Fighter and the Kid tonight on Saturday. If you missed it live, go back and watch it if you're interested in the story. But I don't think there's going to be a lot there. But if I'm wrong, then you'll be seeing me talk in a different colored T-shirt right now. All right, and then some moving on to some lighter shit before we break down the journey of a young go-getter, a kid living his dream in the world of stand-up. We will get to that. But first, I just wanted to address a couple things. The Ellen DeGeneres thing I don't really care about. But to kind of tie it back to what I was just talking about with Bryan Callen and Joe Rogan, it is interesting why this is all coming out now. So if you don't know, Ellen DeGeneres, it looks like the Ellen show is done. In fact, some of the stories that I read called it an apocalyptic brand ruiner, this Ellen DeGeneres story. So there's a lawsuit that there's discrimination and harassment, all kinds of horrible things on the set of the Ellen show. Now, it's been out there for years that Ellen is just a miserable human being to work with. That the fun and dancing and shucking and jiving out there, all an act. That's been around forever. If I know that, imagine what people in Hollywood know. So why now? Maybe you could say now there have been enough articles written about it that people finally caught on. And then, she had some issues at the start of coronavirus with her staff. Maybe that led to it. Well, all right. I'll grant you that. Or is it because she got in trouble last year for sitting at I believe it was a Cowboys game with George Bush? Maybe she's not the staunch fucking Democrat that you demand her to be just because she's a gay woman. Maybe that has something to do with it too. I find that a little odd. Strange that it's all coming out now. Because, Louis C.K. on national radio called her a cunt 10 years ago. Howard Stern, same thing. Louis C.K. said I heard awful stories about her. So, strange it's all coming out now. Very odd. We'll see where that goes. I don't really give a shit about Ellen. She's a little funnier than some give her credit for. She's not just, a hokey date. It is very G-rated, I would say, but she's okay. Ellen's all right as a comedian, but apparently brutal to work for. The other thing I just wanted to go over real quickly. Boy, am I stalling. You've never seen me take this long to get to a bad comedian, have you? When I review bad comedians at the end of a show and I can never wait. Ooh, we're going to play Tom Myers for you. A little Brendan Schaub. Well, let's take it a little slower today. Because I do want to talk about the Emmys. The Emmy nominations are out there. And when it comes to the world of stand-up, if you look at the list, you think I'm going to shit on Hannah Gadsby. Me, Justin, and my buddy Ted, the great Ted Sellers, did an episode a few weeks ago. Check it out, because something got fucked up with the uploading of it, so I don't think many people saw it. But go back and check it out, because I do think it was a good episode. If you like shitting on comedy, or just keep watching if you like shitting on comedy. But Hannah Gadsby's special, in my opinion, is fucking atrocious. I think we all know the reason that it is so critically acclaimed. I don't think I need to spell it out for you. But hey, as much as I shit on that special, I shit on her because she said things about comedy in general. You know, you can't do comedy if you don't have a message. And then she put out this dog shit special called Douglas. But if you come up to me and tell me, hey, you know, I heard what you said about Hannah Gadsby. I'm actually a fan of hers. And here's the reason. She actually made me laugh with this joke or whatever. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to shit on you for that. There's a million comedians or TV shows or whatever that I could tell you that I like, that you probably think are dog shit. No problem with that at all. So if you want to nominate Hannah Gadsby for an Emmy, I mean, we all know why you're doing it. That's fine. Tiffany Haddish, her special and her comedy in general is not for me. She comes out with some song and dance number. You know, it's just not in general for me, but she is funny. So I wouldn't say unwarranted. And Chappelle, obviously. I mean, Sticks and Stones was the best special of the year. And the, was it Kennedy? No, I'm sorry, the Mark Twain Award. The kind of semi-documentary about that. Both awesome. And I'm a Chappelle fan, so I'm biased. No, not a huge problem with any of those nominations. And the Mulaney thing, I thought about watching the Mulaney thing just for this. But then I was like, you know what? That's really, as much as like Tiffany Haddish is not my cup of tea as a comedian, the Mulaney children's show, really not for me. It's literally for kids. So even if I think it sucks, who the fuck am I to say? Who cares? The one I have a problem with, and doesn't make any sense to me, is Jerry Seinfeld. Seinfeld put out a legitimate dog shit special. Really, really bad special. And gets nominated for an Emmy for it. That just shows you how lazy these award shows are, and I don't know why we continue to care about them. I mean, some of those, of course, they want to incorporate more people of color. I think Hannah Gadsby has a message that is perfectly acceptable for award shows. And, you know, Mulaney is a clean-cut, marketable guy. Throw him a bone. People like him. Seinfeld, if you're against old white men, there couldn't be an older, whiter man in comedy than Seinfeld. So I don't understand why he's included from that angle. And this is his worst special. It's really bad. To me, it seemed really lazy. And it's a lazy choice by the Hollywood Foreign Press or whoever runs the Emmys. It just seems really fucking lazy to put Seinfeld in there. Jim Jeffries had a better special. There are a million young guys had better specials than this. I don't know if they count YouTube, so maybe that's a snafu for some people. Maybe it's just, but fucking HBO. Gary Gulman did an interesting special. Dan Soder. But it just seems horrendously lazy to put Seinfeld in there. And if you want to send this message that, hey, we always gave it to the white guys before. We always have these people nominated. They're grandfathered in. There's privilege in our business in Hollywood. Don't nominate Seinfeld when he puts out a horrendous special. One of the worst of the year. Maybe the worst I've reviewed so far. Because again, Hannah Gadsby, as much as I think that's really bad, I'm not her target audience. I would admit that. She would admit that. That special is not for me. Seinfeld is my favorite show of all time. The Jerry Seinfeld special is for me. It's literally targeted to me. I'm a Seinfeld fan, and I fucking hate it. So it just seemed very lazy. Now, I guess it's time to move on. So I've started to think we kind of do this segment where I make fun of people who aren't quite up to snuff in my category. And I've started to think that's a little pretentious. Why make fun of people just out there trying comedy? It takes a lot of balls to do stand-up. So I don't really understand. There's no need to bring up videos and mock these people who are really trying. I just don't get. It doesn't seem right to me, and I apologize that we've been doing it. Tom Myers and Brendan Schaub and these guys, and they're giving their best out there. So there's no reason for me to take a video from some poor bastard didn't even know he was going to have to do stand-up and mock it. Why would I possibly do that? There's no
the comedic
reason
stylings.
For it. Oh, almost like I planned it that way.
Of Mr. Michael Geary.
Okay. Well, now I want to be clear.
Do I stand up for
I
this,
didn't
or
know.
do I remain seated?
I just didn't know.
What do you want me to do, Steve?
stand.
You can stand for it. You guys ready to go? You guys ready for a fun night of comedy?
Fun night of comedy. I'm sure that's what the people were really hoping for.
Well, you see, everything I had written down doesn't make any sense for this, and I have not said it out loud before, so none of it makes any sense.
Look at those titties.
Also, it's not conducive to comedy to have people heckling.
First time I ever touched you.
But now,
I'm
pause,
very uncomfortable
pause here,
right
if you would,
now.
Justin. I will say two things. First of all, the young gentleman is right. Not a great atmosphere for comedy to have a man on stage heckling you. It's tough enough if the crowd is against you, but to have, say an idol of yours on stage mocking your comedically sized breasts, that's got to be rough. However, I would say if you kind of harp on comedy all the time and you talk about how much you love it and how interested in comedy you are and you break it down all the time, I would think you could throw out a few yucks, a few one-liners. There must be a funny bone in your body that could kick into gear in this moment, right? Play.
I haven't killed myself yet, though. That's a good thing, I guess. It's a shame when you haven't having a girlfriend, you
pause.
kind of realize that having people that care.
If I may give a little insight into what's happening here. This is the most recent. So I find out, on stage that I have to get up and do stand-up. It's literally the most recent thing I've thought of is trying to talk about how once you have someone that loves you, it kind of traps you. You feel like you can't commit suicide. Didn't know the gentleman next to me was having a rough weekend at the time. Probably would have tossed that bit out the door had I known. A little uncomfortable in hindsight to listen to. And B, maybe I shouldn't have gone with the thing I thought of most recently. That, as you'll see, if you were in Saco on Sunday night, you'll know not a lot of my jokes necessarily were fully formed in that they did not have a punchline. But this didn't even have a setup for it yet. So why I pulled this out, other than it was just the closest stick I could grab, I have no idea. Let's continue. Why I'm making myself sit through this again, I don't know.
To care about you is a way of preventing you from suicide, which isn't a great thing, because it's fuck you.
That's when I knew. That is when I knew there was not a chance of this
I'm
working.
trying to remember. Should have written vaguely that I have not said out loud before. I fucking hate you, and I've never.
Hold on. That's fine.
You're a horrible man.
I don't mind that. Guys, should we try it again?
What do you mean try it again?
Okay. Well, because it's a dry run, you screw up a little bit.
All right.
All right.
I'll give you
pause.
another introduction, okay?
Thank you very much. That's
What I should have done is just gone more for that. Shitting on Kirk and Steve and the audience, a little of what my producer Justin likes to call stream of consciousness. Instead, for some reason, I launch into bits that are not really fully written, not rehearsed. Instead of just talking, I could have just talked for 5 minutes. But instead, I try to come up with things that I've thought of in the past. I don't know what I'm sorry, it's not me, of course. I wouldn't be. I don't know what this young man on stage is doing right here, but he seems to be struggling. Let's continue.
That's what I needed.
Guys, you've just heard the comedic stylings of Mike here. Do you want some more of that? He's like Louis C.K. if we're just talking about the raping, not so much the comedy.
Jesus.
I'm a rapist.
Not a great way to get brought up on stage if you're not familiar
Is he
with
funny?
comedy.
Nope. Is he talented? Nope. Are we stuck with him because he's blind in the middle of a pandemic? Yes. For the
Comment
next
that really
45
hurts.
minutes, I give you the comedic stylings of Mr. Michael Geary.
I can't stand anymore because my legs are shaking. I'm so
That
fucking
was true.
uncomfortable.
I was very nervous.
This is a horrible thing to do to someone. Just grow some balls and fire me. You can fire me at any time, you coward.
See, that's
is horrible
not
to
bad.
do to
I should have
someone.
just kept doing that.
This is just mean to do to someone. So the
It's
thing
kind
about
of funny
suicide,
to hear me shit on Kirk, I
I
guess.
can't remember
Did you
that.
have any
bit.
joke
Rating
at
on a
all?
curve,
Remember?
I have. No, I have vague idea. I haven't done this in front of anyone yet.
Well, that was the point. You were supposed to be ready. Do
I don't have notes. I don't have anything. I didn't know I was going to have to do this.
I have to tackle this guy? I mean, what are we doing? You must have some joke, remember, no?
I mean, like I said, I have vague ideas. I have shit about suicide. I had shit about doing the Wilbur. It
Well,
was
go
just-
ahead.
right.
Well, this is a tryout.
guess
Go
that's-
ahead. You're
that's
trying
good
your
enough.
stuff out.
I forget how long this takes to get to anything. Oh my god! But go to at Kirkman Show on Twitter. I don't know how they obtained this footage of this young man bombing, but rough. And when I did stand up a year ago, I only had a day to prepare, so same thing as Sunday. But I said it 200 times at least into a mirror. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that on Sunday because we had to do Aquabogging and all that type of shit. Although, I had some fun at Aquabogging. At least I got that in. But yeah, it fucking sucks. And I was not prepared. I got fucking lazy because of coronavirus. I was like, that Wilbur show's not happening. I don't have to remember any of this shit. Little did I know. How did I not know that Kirk was going to make me? Like, it seems someone called into this with Go for Geary the other day. It all seems so obvious now, with the advantage of hindsight, that of course he was going to make me do that. Show how unprepared I am, show how unfunny I am. It's perfect. It's made for that show, for Christ's sake. But I lived up to my reputation as a common fool and really pulled nothing out of my hat. Pulled a dead rabbit. Oh, look at this. The rabbit's dead. Would you have guessed? So hopefully, maybe the greatest thing is next time I will prepare, and I'll have a killer set ready, and no one will call on me, or more likely they'll call on me again, and I will bomb. But other than that, we'll do some more digging into Bryan Callen and these other situations that I've talked about. And until next time, see you later.